Hello learners, in this lecture we will see how the classification of the aggregate is done. So the classification of aggregate is done based on three things. First is based on the geological formation, then based on the size we are doing the classification, based on the shape also we are going to do, and based on the unit weight also we are going to do. Okay, so based on four criteria we are going to do the classification of the aggregate. So based on geological origin, how we are going to do, we are going to classify it as natural aggregate, and we are going to classify it as artificial aggregate. Based on the size, how we are going to do, based on the fine aggregate and based on coarse aggregate. Based on the shape, how we are going to do, we have rounded aggregate, we have angular aggregate, we have irregular aggregate, and we have flaky aggregate. And coming to the unit weight, we have a normal weight aggregate, we have heavy weight aggregate, and we have a lightweight aggregate, right? So these are the classification of the aggregate. Now we'll try to break down this one by one, and we'll try to see what actually do you mean by natural aggregate, what do you actually mean by artificial aggregate, and so on. Yeah, so coming to the first, that is based on the geological origin, we have natural aggregate and we have artificial aggregate. So coming to the natural aggregate, these aggregates are generally obtained from natural deposit of sand and gravels or from quarries by cutting the rocks, right? So what are the quarries? Quarries are the places where you get all these stones and all, right? The laterite stone, and if you, the limestone and all, whatever you have queries from there, we are going to with the help of blasting activity, we are going to get all these rocks from there, because it is naturally available in our environment. So that is why it is called as natural aggregate. But only the thing is, it's available in the bigger sizes, so we have to do the blasting and all, then we have to we have to cut that, we have to break them into a smaller piece. Yeah, so the cheapest among them all are the natural sand and the gravel, which have been reduced to their present size by natural agents such as water, due to the action of water, due to the action of wind, and due to the action of snow and etc. The river deposits are the most common and are of good quality. So coming to the artificial aggregates, the most widely used artificial aggregates are clean broken bricks, right? Whatever bricks you have, if you break it down into small pieces, then that serve as a aggregate for us. But that is a artificial aggregate. It's not naturally occurring, it is artificial. We prepared brick, and from that brick we have broken it down into small pieces. So artificially we are making that aggregate. And air cooled fresh blast furnace like. So the broken bricks of good quality provide a satisfactory aggregate for the mass concreting, and are not suitable for the reinforced concrete work, because the crushing strength of the brick is less than 30 to 35 Newton per mm square. And also, since we are using a broken brick, it has a poor resistance to wear and tear, and hence it is not used in concrete for the road work and all, right? So it's a common understanding what we got, that we have natural aggregate and artificial aggregate. Natural aggregates are those aggregates which are naturally available in the nature, whereas artificial we try to make it on our own. Yeah. So now we'll try to see that. See, these are the natural aggregate what is available, right? You can see these are the aggregates what is naturally available. Even though they are available in the big stones and all, we try to, with the help of a crusher, we are going to break down into small pieces whatever is required. But you can see another picture here. So these are the artificial, like we prepare. This is a broken brick stones what we have, right? So based on that, these are the artificial aggregates what we have. Yeah. So next we'll try to see classification according to the size. So according to the size, we have seen we have two classification. One is the fine aggregate, the second is a coarse aggregate. So first we'll try to see what is fine aggregate. The aggregate which passes through 4.75 mm sieve and are retained on 75 micron sieve are known as fine aggregate. So what exactly I'm trying to tell, we'll try to see. That means, in a simple word, if someone asks you what is fine aggregate, the size of the aggregate of 4.75 mm and smaller in size are called as fine aggregates, right? So the sand obtained, so what are this fine aggregate? The fine aggregate, we call it as a sand, right? The sand obtained from the river beds or quarries are used as a fine aggregate. So you can see it here. The fine aggregate along with the hydrated cement paste will fill the space between the coarse aggregate. So you can see this is a sand what we already seen, and this is a sieve, like I told you, no, 4.75 mm sieve. So these are the different sieves what is available. So with the help of this, we'll try to do the sieving of that. Whatever size of the materials which will pass through 4.75 mm sieve, okay, whatever will pass to 4.75 mm sieve, let us say this is okay 4.75 mm sieve, and let us say this is 2.36 mm sieve. Okay, then we have 1.18 mm sieve and so on. So in this way, whatever sand we have, no, in this, we'll try to put it here, and with the help of a sieve machine, we'll try to shake it. So whatever are the bigger particles that is greater than 4.75 mm, those will be retained on this only. It cannot pass through that. But whichever will pass through this, no, let us say 2.36 mm and all, they all are my fine aggregate. And whichever is retained on 4.75, they are not called as fine aggregate, but we call them as a coarse aggregate. We'll try to see what is the definition of a coarse aggregate. As of now, our discussion is limited to fine aggregate. So size of the aggregate which are 4.75 mm and smaller than that are called as fine aggregate, right? You can see the aggregate based on that. Let us say this is greater than 4.75. Okay, you can see a small a stone kind of thing, no? So these are greater than 4.75. This is also greater than 4.75. But let us say this is less than 4.75, this is less than 4.75, and this is less than 4.5. So these three things I can call them as a fine aggregate, whereas this is my coarse aggregate, since they are not since they have been retained on a 4.75 mm sieve, right? Yeah. So next we'll try to see what is coarse aggregate then. So yeah, so before that we need to understand one more thing. According to the size of the fine aggregate, the fine aggregates are described as coarse, medium, and fine sand. Further, the classification has been made like zone 1 fine aggregate, zone 2 fine aggregate, zone 3 fine aggregate, and zone 4 fine aggregate. So as of now, this much understanding we need to have, that is fine aggregate are further classified into zone 1, zone 2, zone 3, and zone 4. So where we try to use this zone, that is in the mixed design. We'll try to see that in the chapter 3. But as of now, understand there are 4 different zones of fine aggregate, and based on the requirement we try to make use of these zones, right? Yeah. And also we'll try to see in the sieve analysis, when we understand the sieve analysis test, we'll try to see the practical importance of all these zones. Yeah. So moving forward, coming to the coarse aggregate. So what is coarse aggregate? Those particles which are not passing through 4.75 mm sieve, or which are retained on 4.75 mm sieve, are called as coarse aggregate. So the aggregate retained on 4.75 mm ISU, IS is Indian Standard Sieves, are known as coarse aggregate. The size of aggregate bigger than 4.75 mm is also called as coarse aggregate. You can take any definition out of this. So the crushed aggregates are of granular materials obtained from the rocks and the crushed stones, right? So the graded coarse aggregate, what is available in the market, are of nominal sizes like 40 mm aggregate, we have 20 mm aggregate, we have 16 mm and 12.5. So as I mentioned in one of my class, usually if you look into the construction that is happening around, for the RCC work, I'll write it here. For the RCC work, we try to usually make use of this 20 mm aggregate and also 12.5 mm aggregate. This 40 mm aggregate we don't use for RCC work, but we'll try to use this for PCC work. Wherever you want to have a lean mix of concrete, okay, PCC stand for plain cement concrete. If you see the construction activity, once we do the excavation, no, let us say this is a pit what I have, okay. Once you do the excavation, in the bottom we'll try to put one concrete layer, okay. We'll try to put one concrete layer, okay, which is of 75 or 100 mm thickness, or 100 mm thickness. So this layer what we put, no, that is called as PCC, and in that PCC we try to make use of this 40 mm coarse aggregate, okay. But if you see the construction of a footing and all, if I try to draw the cross section of a footing, okay, this is my footing, okay. But if you see the footing and all, no, in footing we try to make use of RCC, that is reinforced cement concrete. There we try to make use of 20 mm aggregate, 16 mm and 12.5 or 10 mm aggregate based on the requirement. But only in PCC we try to make use of 40 mm aggregate. So I told you the practical importance of this aggregate as well. Yeah. So that's it. After that we'll try to see how it looks. We already seen, right? You can see it here, no? So this is the aggregate what they have stored, and you can see it here. These are the bigger size of aggregate. These are little smaller size. Let us say this is 20 mm, this is 16 mm, 12.5 mm aggregate, 10 mm aggregate. So all these are the aggregates what we use. And usually practically when we prepare concrete, no, we don't try to use one single size of aggregate. We try to make use of two different sizes. Let us say you are using a 12 mm, 20 mm aggregate, along with the 20 mm we'll try to add a 10 mm aggregate also. So why that has to be done, that we'll try to see when we understand the grading of aggregates. As of now, try to understand that this is coarse aggregate. which are retained on 4.75 mm sieve. And these are the different sizes of coarse aggregate that you can see: 40 mm, 20, 16, 12.5, 10 mm is also available. Sometimes you have 80 mm. Okay, the bigger in size we call them as boulders, right? Yeah. So now what else is left? Yeah, now coming to the classification. Yeah, going back. Yeah, now is classification according to the shapes. First we have seen classification based on geological formation, that is artificial, natural and artificial. Second we saw based on fine aggregate and coarse aggregate. Now we'll see classification according to the shape of the aggregate. So the first is the, yeah, how many shapes are there actually? See, these are the different shapes what we have. The first is rounded shape, then we have irregular shape of aggregate, then we have angular shape of aggregate, and we have flaky shape of aggregate. So first uh, discussion for us is a rounded shape. So what will happen? The aggregate with rounded particles has a minimum weights ranging from 32 to 33%. So it gives minimum ratio of surface area to volume. It has to be area here, make it as area. Yeah, it gives minimum ratio of surface area to volume, thus requiring minimum cement paste to make a good concrete. So next is that the only disadvantage is that the interlocking between these particles is less, and hence the development of the bond is poor, making it unsuitable for high strength concrete and pavement. So here what will happen, if you are using a rounded aggregate, the interlocking between this particle, that is if I using a rounded aggregate something like this, no, so this since they are rounded in shape, there is a there is no good interlocking between them. There is no good interlocking between them. If there is no good interlocking between them, then the bond will be poor in between them. So as a result of that, what will happen, they are not suitable for high strength concrete works and for the pavement work, right? But one thing you need to understand, but the workability will be good. Since the surface area is less, what will happen, since the surface area is less, more paste will be available for the lubricating of the aggregate. So one thing that might have come in your mind by this time, that what is workability. So as of now we'll not understand the meaning of workability. When we get into the second chapter, we'll try to see what is workability in a better way. Okay, now to put it in the easy way, workability is the ability of a concrete to do the work easily without any much force being applied. You have to do the work of a concrete, so that is called as workability. So if you have a rounded aggregate, what is going to happen? If you have a rounded round shape aggregate, then what will happen, since the surface area is less, more paste will be available, and if more paste is available, then the lubricating of all the aggregates is going to happen. So that is why the rounded shape aggregate can be used wherever the workability is important. But other than that, if you want to, from strength point of view, rounded aggregate is not good, because we have seen it, the interlocking between the particle is less, and hence the development of the bond will become poor, right? Yeah. So next we'll try to see the other types of aggregates what we have, and this is how it looks. This you can see it's a rounded in shape, and this is also rounded in shape. So these are rounded in shape. Okay, one thing you have to understand, from strength point of view they are not good, but from workability point of view, the round shape aggregates are good. Yeah. Next point of discussion is angular aggregates. So what are these angular aggregates and what is the function of them, we'll try to see. So the aggregate with sharp, angular and rough particles has a maximum of weights ranging from 38 to 40%. The interlocking between the particles is good here. So angular aggregates exhibit better interlocking. This is very important. Uh, Angular aggregates exhibits better interlocking effect in the concrete. This property makes it superior in concrete used for the roads and aggregate, right? So next point is this aggregate will give strong mix because of more friction and better interlocking. Because you look at the shape of the, okay, they're angular in shape, no? See, these are angular in shape. So if they're angular in shape, what will happen? The friction between them will be good. And if the friction between them will be good, what will happen? Whatever load will come on that, no, it will be able to resist the force on that. So as a result of better interlocking, it will be able to take good amount of force. That is why it is written this aggregate will give strong mix because more friction and better interlocking. You can see here, no, look at the shape here. So what will happen, the shape is a kind of angular in shape. So as a result of that, there's a better interlocking. The total surface area of rough textured angular aggregate is more than smooth rounded aggregate for the given volume. So by having a greater surface area, the angular aggregate may show higher bond strength than the rounded aggregates. So in comparison to the rounded aggregates, angular aggregates will have better strength and they can take higher amount of load, right? So this was all about the angular aggregate. So we'll try to see what is the next aggregate we have. Okay, the next aggregate what we have is, see, you can see it here. We have discussed angular aggregate. This is how an angular aggregate is going to look. This is a rounded aggregate. Remember, angular aggregates are good in taking the load, but workability is not good. But whereas in rounded aggregate, the workability will be good, but it cannot take good amount of load on it. These are the flaky aggregates, and these are elongated aggregate, and this is flaky as well as elongated. So usually in practical construction, we never try to make use of elongated and flaky aggregates. If we have a flaky and elongated, we have to take it out, you have to take it out, and we should not use it in the real construction practice. So in the upcoming lectures, we'll try to see how to identify the flaky and the elongated aggregate, and also we have a test for that called as flakiness index test and elongation index test, and we'll try to see them. Now to understand the meaning of a flaky, you can see it here. Flaky means it has less thickness, and elongated means it has more length. You can see it here. Flaky means the thickness of this is very less compared to this length. The thickness is very less. If you remember cornflakes, you look at the cornflakes, how the cornflakes is. It's the same thing. Cornflakes and this flaky both are same. Okay, so flaky means it has very less thickness and its length is more. Whereas elongated, you see, the length is this length is more, no? So it is called as elongated. So such aggregates have low crushing strength, and in most of the concrete produced other than the high strength concrete, loads are actually taken by the aggregate, and we have seen that around 75 to 80% of a concrete is filled by the aggregates. So loads are actually taken by the aggregates, and only cement will act as a binder, that is adhesive, to keep all the aggregates together. So normal concrete can have maximum strength till the aggregates are not broken. So if the aggregates break under the load before the failure of cement and sand matrix, the concrete produced with that aggregates will not achieve the desired strength. So that is the reason we never try to use flaky and elongated aggregates in the real construction practice, right? Yeah. So what is the next point of discussion we have? We'll try to see what is the next point. Yeah. Next is grading of aggregate. So we'll try to see grading of aggregate in the next lecture. Okay. So in this lecture, our main intention was on angular aggregate and rounded aggregate, and also how the classification of aggregate has been done. So we'll see you back in the next lecture. Thank you.